Welcome to episode 66 of the SNDP Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Dan, what's going on this week?
Not much. How's it going tonight, Steve?
Can't complain. Division 1.1, Through It All is this week's song. I know they got some fun stuff coming up, so make sure you're following them on Facebook to keep up.
Absolutely. First of all, I like to thanks once again to Keith Black and the Garziano boys for last week for coming on our show. It was great having them on with a lot of insight for the Knicks and the Islanders and Rangers. Boy, we have a cluster going
And the Olympics.
And the Olympics as well, of course. How can I forget that? Boy, we have fun with the Knicks coming up. But before we start,
we didn't get a chance.
We didn't get to say thank you to Derek Jeter. Obviously, Derek Jeter did not come to our podcast. Obviously, as awesome that would be. But
he was making his rounds. We could have written a letter.
Write a letter. But we didn't get to say thank you to Derek Jeter. I know he didn't die. A lot of people are getting mad that everybody's making it sound like he died. But it's for most of us, especially in our generation, Derek Jeter is maybe the first athlete most people in our age group especially in our area, that became baseball fans, looked up to and watched. I know I was one of them. When I was little, I liked both the Mets and Yankees, and I don't know why I picked the Mets, but it happened that way. But growing up, I worshiped Derek Jeter, and it's crazy to see that my childhood watching baseball is officially over. And
he's the last 90s player remaining.
For the Yankees, yes, correct.
For anybody.
I'm sure there's a couple people lying around.
Mid-90s.
I'm sure there's a few lying around, but yeah, as of right now, it's just crazy to think that way. And it's hopefully he has a good bounce back season and then goes out on top, not top, but
doesn't go out the way he doesn't want to go out. Yeah,
just have him healthy this year and see what happens. The Yankees are fully loaded this year, so they're looking to contend this year. So once again, congrats on Derek Jeter on the wonderful career, and we obviously know he's going to do something awesome in his retirement. So
which play do you rank higher, the dive into the stands against Boston or the flip play against Oakland?
All right. Well, I know I'm going to get pissed off a bunch of people with the dive play. I think that play is the most overrated play ever. It has to be the flip because that was done in the playoffs. It was just Jeter being Jeter, and he wasn't nowhere supposed to be anywhere near that, and something happened, and he saw that the play wasn't going to be there. If Jeremy Giambi actually ran out of play, we would never be talking about it.
If it wasn't Jeremy Giambi.
Well, yeah, but if he played it right, he would have been safe by a million feet, but he didn't. It's just one of those plays. I think Jeter's best play of all time has to be Mr. November, and just how Met fans cater to the whole 9/11 after 9/11. That whole Yankee run in 01 was...
every Met fan was a Yankee fan that year.
Everybody was a Yankee fan. You got to feel bad for the Diamondbacks. In normal circumstance here, everybody would be rooting for the ultimate underdog. This year, that year, just how much everybody on New York to win. It was just very impressive. And just how he was able to carry the whole team. Granted, he had other players, but he was really slowly becoming the captain of that team that year. And obviously, Mr. November is one of the greatest home runs in Yankee history and baseball playoff history. So you got to tip your hat to that.
With Jeter retiring, who's basically the next shortstop, in your opinion?
Next best shortstop, there isn't one particular player right now.
Okay, forget shortstop. Who's the next Derek Jeter of baseball?
Unfortunately, Derek Jeter is a one in a lifetime kind of player.
You don't think anybody's going to be the class
right now in the league? Right now, maybe in the league, maybe if Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, those guys can mold, maybe a Manny Machado kind of players, those young players that are up and coming, and they're slowly. Well, Mike Trout's obviously one of the best players in the league. Those players have the opportunity to be Derek Jeter, and they all have the talent to be even better than Derek Jeter. So it's just a completely different circumstance. If anybody, I guess it would be Mike Trout, because a similar situation with Jeter, he has a good core of nucleus around him for him to grow into his own, and it's not particularly all on him per se. I guess Mike Trout would be it if you're actually really looking through the nitty-gritty. But as of right now, it'd probably be him. What about you?
I was actually gonna say that it probably will be Trout, because right now he's 22.
Yeah.
So basically, he's not even in his prime yet.
Oh, nowhere near it, and it's scary.
And it's scary, like you just said, the numbers that he's been putting up. It's insane.
As long as he stays healthy and focused, he might arguably be the greatest hitting player of all time. Just the way he's been going and how young he is with those first 2 years. It's already crazy that it's his third baseball season. It's just how quick things go.
You know what's really scary is that if he actually wanted to, he could probably get close to 100 stolen bases in a year and get himself on pace to break Rickey Henderson's record.
Yeah, I think Mike Trout would be up there without a doubt.
But we do have a packed show.
Absolutely.
Lots of basketball and lots of hockey to talk about. So let's go play some more Division 1.1, and we'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to episode 66. Figures with the number 66, we start the show off with the great Mario Lemieux. Let's talk about hockey, Steve. The boys are back in town. Both the Islanders and Rangers and the Devils are all back in action tomorrow, and they have a double back-to-back on Saturday and Sundays. What? How excited are you to be at? Well, you're going to be at the College just on Sunday, right?
Thursday.
Well, tomorrow, and then not going to
first game, and then Sunday.
Sunday.
Yes. I'm not. Yeah.
No, not that excited. I know. Well, Islander Land did get some relatively solid news. John Tavares didn't require to have surgery. Last week we were just in the early stages of finding out what exactly happened.
It was the day of when we recorded.
Yeah, it was
last
the day
week,
of. So it was still very fresh, as you can hear how somber Andy was while we were interviewing him last week. It was kind of depressing re-listening to the show last week on how down he was, and unfortunately no one blames him. But it was only 8 to 12 weeks to heal this wound. So obviously he's done for the year, but honestly he'll be back and ready to go for training camp if there's no setbacks. He also knows the grind that's going to be happening because he's actually gone through it before. He had the same exact injury back in 2006, 2005 when he was 16. Okay.
Something like that.
That helps
2007
as well.
maybe.
That definitely helps as well. So he knows what he has to do. He's obviously more mature in that stage now since he is 22. It's good to see. No one wants to ever see anybody get surgery, especially the condition of how knees are. Even though how routine a knee injury is these days. But that's great to see. But with that, him being out obviously is a huge void for the Islanders. It's time for the young guys and the guys who've been slacking so far this whole entire season needs to pick it up. It's they're not going to be making the playoffs now, but it is time for sink or swim for some players in this league, for this team.
It also comes down to now where Capuano's job is really on the line because he doesn't have his star player, and if they don't play well, of course he'll be fired.
Yeah.
But if they play well and they win games and they make a push and they play hard every night, you may actually see Capuano. They say, hey, Capuano, come back, at least start next season with your star player.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
And as much as I've been down on Capuano, if they do play hard and well for the remainder of the season, especially losing his best player, he has a nice chip in his back pocket to go to ownership, say, hey, what do you expect me to do with my best player not being on the team? And I think he'll be back regardless. Unless it's like the worst possible, they'll win if they go like a no-win March kind of thing, like what they normally do in November kind of thing, what they typically do in November, I could definitely see that. But we'll see what happens with that. I'm excited to see what Ryan Strome does. He's going to be playing here for the rest of the season. Hopefully he stays healthy. What most importantly, what's going to happen next week on the 5th for the trading deadline? Andrew McDonald's been named everywhere the last couple of days of where he's going to end up going. Is there any other Islander that might be on the move? Or is
Vanek.
Oh, well, obviously Thomas Vanek. How can I forget that? So it's going to be
the teams you got to watch right now are the LA Kings because they want an offensive player. And And they also want a defenseman.
Okay, so we could...
Plus, they also have, behind Jonathan Quick, they actually have 2 goalies.
Okay.
That are locked up who are decent. And they have draft picks.
You said we can't get Jonathan Quick?
I highly doubt they're going to
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But don't be shocked if you hear Vanek to the Kings.
Yeah.
And then also former Islander Matt Molson.
Okay, that would be it. Boy, that would be funny.
I could just see it because I can also see him re-signing there as well in LA, especially over the island. As much as he would want to come back to the island, Molson, like he's been rumored, he would probably rather be there with his brother-in-law, and it's a lot easier.
Exactly.
And so there's that. But then the other team that I think could quietly jump in with the Islanders is Toronto. They have they traded for Brunier, who was back up to Quick last year, the past couple seasons. And they have Reimer, who's been playing amazing. Yeah. So they're looking to move him.
Reimer or Brunier?
Reimer.
Okay.
So they also want a defenseman, Amac, but the Islanders also want a 1. Key to me is I think the Islanders need, if they're going to make a move, you got to trade for a goalie who's locked up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because the Ducks, apparently, as good as they're playing, they're 2 backup goalies to Jonas Hiller, of playing just as well as Jonas Hiller. So they're actually rumored to be looking to move Hiller, surprisingly enough. But the thing is, Hiller's a free agent at the end of the year.
So that's a pure rental.
So why risk trading them Vanek and Amac to get a rental? You want a guy who's locked up. If they're willing to move one of the younger guys, you make that move happen, of course. The Islanders need to bring in a goalie. That's my opinion. You need to find a team that's willing to move one of their goalies.
Yeah, that seems to be the problem right now is the whole goaltending. I know that the Islanders have a lot of defense coming up on the wings, but obviously they're not trying to build their defense right now because they want
defense is built.
Yeah, the young core. That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to say. Is the young core is slowly coming up, slowly and by surely. We might have Reinhardt they might have Reinhardt by the end of the year. You never know.
I don't see Reinhardt playing the final 8 games here. I see possible call up where he plays 1 game.
Okay.
One of those things.
Yeah.
Like they've done in the past. You call him up for 1 game in the final 8 and you let him play.
Mm-hmm.
That's to dress.
Yeah.
But I don't really see it.
Pretty much what they did with Ryan Strome last year.
Strome didn't get called up at all.
He didn't? I thought he got called. Oh, it was just for the playoffs.
Anders Lee got called up.
Okay, one of them. Okay.
Anders Lee was called up for 1 game. Brock Nelson got called up for the playoff game because they needed him.
Yeah. Okay.
They actually needed him to play. And he had the most experience in the Bridgeport.
Gotcha.
So that was why he was called up.
Gotcha.
Lee signed out of college.
He's
played
the one
a game,
from Notre Dame, right?
Played a game. And then the next, 4 days later, was sent down to Bridgeport.
Gotcha.
He's also just recalled. So now you get to see what he gets to do. What he could do for the rest of the season, which I'm also excited about. He looked well in the 1 game. He's been playing well in Bridgeport, so you might as well. And then there's Mike Hamlow, who was called up, but he was just an insurance guy because Matt Martin had a little back injury.
Okay.
So they basically
and that's been lingering for a while, right?
It's been lingering, but they already announced Hamlow will play the Thursday game.
Yeah, I got that.
And Martin should be back for the weekend.
Okay.
Which when they'll probably end up sending down Hamlow and calling up Donovan.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Okay, that's realistic. That's the most realistic thing right now, especially since they're down 1 man. Well, realistically, down 3 men right now on the forward course. So reasonable statements for that. With this weekend, 3 games this weekend. Who do they have tomorrow?
The first game is the Thursday's Toronto. Then they play the Devils and Panthers. So
okay,
they should take 1 out of the 3.
Yeah, they'd be happy if you take 1 out of 3. The way I just like the Maple Leafs over pretty much a lot of teams right now. Just like how they've been playing.
We know that the Maple Leaf game could be the game that the Maple Leafs bring scouts to see Vanek and Amac.
Very, very well be. Well, what was it? I saw on Twitter there was so many scouts at the Sabres game right now. For
Matt Molson.
So they were probably expecting Ryan Miller to start, but
they got to get people in those seats somehow, so give all the tickets to the scouts.
Yeah. So yeah, you'd be happy if they go 1 out of 3.
Speaking of Buffalo, a stat came out this week about the TV ratings.
Okay.
And Buffalo's top 4 in the league.
Well, wow. Well,
they're the second to worst team in the league, and they're top 4.
But that just goes to show you how loyal their fan base is, and that there's nothing else going on in Buffalo.
The real question is, does that include both teams or just them? That was the one thing I didn't see. Because, like, the Islanders, they said, has top 5 biggest raises in TV watch ratings since last year.
No, I think it's per team. It has to be per team. Because Ranger fan, well, even though hockey fans are going to watch hockey games, but particularly it depends on what kind of night. And some nights, all 3 teams are playing. So, obviously, you're not going to be watching a Ranger game if you're going to want to watch the Islanders and vice versa. Or you're going to want to watch the Devils game and not watch the Islanders. You'll flip back and forth, but your majority of time is going to be towards that specific team that you watch. It definitely that just shows how good the Islanders. People got excited with them on how young they are. Granted, they have been disappointing, but that's just what happens when you got a young core of guys that you're gonna stick with the growing pains and kind of thing. So that's why you probably see the boost of things. And John Tavares is John Tavares, so I'm sure that's helped, and I'm sure the people watching with the NHL pass and everything like that, I'm sure that helps as well.
Yeah. But the bigger news out in New York is, of course, Ryan Callahan.
Yeah.
Now, the report came out today that Martin St. Louis will not go anywhere but the Rangers.
Yes. Let's see. With Ryan Callahan, the amount of money he's asking, Darren Drager from TSN reported last night that he's going to be moved. There's a 99% chance that he's going to get moved. With that being said, for the right player is obviously the great way to go. Obviously, if you get Martin St. Louis for Ryan Callahan, you make that trade every day and twice on Sunday kind of move. I know.
I wouldn't make that trade at all.
Hear me out. What's rough for Ryan Callahan is you're going to lose your captain, which is going to be rough since we all know how great of a leader he is. And you're going to lose 17 minutes per game out of every minute you have out of him for that. But with St. Louis, for what it's worth, Ryan Callahan's asking for too much money. And honestly, the Rangers might actually be playing it smart for once. Of course, I don't want to see the Rangers trading Ryan Callahan because I enjoy watching Ryan Callahan on a nightly basis. But if you get a chance to spice up your offense and get a little bit more scoring, I know it's going to hurt your defensive prowess a little bit. You got to do it, especially with the caliber of player that Martin St. Louis is, especially playing him up back with Brad Richards, and they've had chemistry. We all know the chemistry that they had together. You put Rick Nash with that, I think that would be pretty spicy. But when it all says and done, it's going to be other teams that have been rumored that have good chances to get Ryan Callahan is St. Louis Blues. They have a lot of pieces that they can ask for. They want a defensive style of third line forward, second line forward to bang the body and play on the PK. It's going to be interesting. Like I hope somehow the contract's going to get done before next week. But all things are pointing towards that. It's probably not, unfortunately. Ryan Callahan's obviously we all know how much we both love Ryan Callahan. And we'd love to see him stay, but if the right trade presents itself, Glenn Saber doesn't look like he's going to be scared to trade away the captain.
I don't want a 38-year-old on my team if I'm the Rangers. You don't want a guy who's a 38-year-old who, as good as he is, isn't what he was. Callahan, if you can lock up Callahan, will be better to be on your team. He's the heart and soul of that team.
The thing with if you were to get St. Louis, it's just that we're trying to win now kind of thing. And that's surely what's all it is about. And the Rangers, it's going to either be Callahan or Girardi. And I think the Rangers are in a bigger need for Girardi, unfortunately. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out because it's getting stickier and stickier as the day the rumors go on and everything like that. And the Ryan Callahan's agent is actually not pleased that they weren't able to sit down during the Olympic break and try to set something up. They had no dialogue.
Well, apparently you're not allowed.
Okay, well, that's a good reason why. But
so at least the Rangers had a good reason not to.
Okay, but that's what I saw today on ESPN. That was one of the articles I read for this. As for the Rangers, they play Thursday night against the defending champions at the Garden and against the Blackhawks. That's going to be a real fun game. First time these two teams played this season, the Rangers won a classic thriller in overtime. it's going to be interesting to see how the Rangers come back and play. I know the Blackhawks have a bunch of players that were in the Olympics in the later rounds as well. It's going to be interesting if Cam Talbot does play or they give
Lundqvist will play Saturday, is what I read today.
Lundqvist is definitely okay. So
Lundqvist won't play till Saturday.
Okay, so it's up to Cam Talbot. He hasn't played in quite a few weeks, so it's going to be interesting to see how ready he is and how amped up he's going to be tomorrow night in the Garden crowd.
You know, it's funny. The Islanders don't have to worry about resting their A goalie. They both suck and didn't make the Olympics.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how Cam Talbot plays against that quality of team, especially not playing for 2 weeks. So
if the Rangers have the idea of moving Cam Talbot during the offseason, let's just say they have that idea. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow's a game a lot of teams are going to watch. Blackhawk game is going to be a game that scouts will look at video of. How did he play against the Blackhawk power play? How did he play against the team that moves the puck as well as the Blackhawks? How did he play against the Blackhawks' speed? That's really a test. I mean, if you're going to watch a goalie, that's the type of team you want to see them face. That's a Stanley Cup contending team every year.
Of course.
But that's if they want to move him during the offseason.
Yeah, I highly doubt it, unless they get the right piece of the puzzle.
Because remember, draft day, everybody's available. Every sport, everybody's available.
Of course.
Except for those maybe 2 or 3 guys.
For the right name, anybody's available. I don't see I don't see I don't see that happening anytime soon. Just the way how good he's been and how much he's been called upon this year, it's really impressive on how good he's been. And who can forget the awesome Ghostbuster helmet? I know we mention it every time, but he's been good when he's been called upon, and it's been more than anybody expected this year because on how poor Lundqvist started the season. I think with Lundqvist, the gold medal game was just one of those weird games that it wasn't really his fault. They were down 3 guys, and Team Canada is Team Canada, and they did what I said the other day that Team Finland would have to do to beat them last week, and Canada surely did what I said for the scouting report. And unfortunately, he got the silver, so hey, it's awesome for him to getting the silver. He just needs to get the bronze, and he has the whole collection.
Yeah, I actually thought the other day that he actually had the whole collection, but he didn't.
No, he did not.
Not yet. Oh, well. He'll get one.
He'll get one. It's going to be a fun weekend with the Rangers. It's them. It's going to be the Blackhawks. That's going to be a fun game. It's always fun with the original 6 game. Obviously, I bet they're going to wear the blue jerseys. They're
at home.
What I meant is the vintage jerseys with the New York across. Let's see.
Not the
typical New York Rangers written down the crest, down the sleeves.
Don't they only wear?
They have the blue vintage jersey that says New York instead of Rangers.
Oh, the old school.
Yeah. And Saturday they make a nice road trip to Philly for a 1:00 game against the Flyers. That's going to be fun. The second place and third place teams jockeying for position. So with that, the Rangers need a must-win, and Henrik is normally good against Philly, so it's going to be a fun game for that one. And then Sunday, they're back at home against Boston. So the Rangers are back into the fire right away. The Islanders.
It's a real test for the Rangers.
This month.
And you know what? Talbot's going to play Boston also. If Lundqvist is going to play coming off an Olympic break, you're not going to have Lundqvist play back-to-back.
Yeah. It's Talbot's gonna be huge for Cam Talbot. Cam Talbot's gonna be the unsung hero for this week.
Cam Talbot can either make or break the rest of the season for the Rangers. Because if he's going to play teams like Boston and Chicago, and those hard-working, physical, get to the net, beat up the goalie type teams, Boston and Chicago are, he's got to win those games.
He absolutely does, and it's going to be interesting to see both Islanders and Rangers, and of course the Devils. Mentioned the Devils as well. How they will get their legs under them. After not playing for 3 weeks, and the players that were playing for the Olympic teams, how quickly they get reaccustomed to playing in the NHL style of things. It shouldn't take long. These couple of games are going to be a little sloppy, so if the Islanders steal a couple of games, you'll be happy because that's most of the guys were not over in Sochi. So it's going to be interesting to see how ready and rested a lot of these teams are going to be. So the Rangers have their money cut out with them. I don't really want to say what their record's going to be, but you got to hopefully get a point in each game. Find a way to get a point in each game, and Ranger fans will be satisfied. Whether it's 1-1 or you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
so
I understand.
The Rangers need to find a way to keep the what they were doing 2 weeks ago before the Olympic break. They were playing their best hockey, sweeping the Stadium Series games that they had there, and even before that, I think the road bump. There's going to be one more minor road bump before they make the playoffs, but the way they've been playing lately, there seems to be no slowing down, and hopefully Rick Nash continues to be as good as he was, scoring goals and carry with the gold medal. Give him more reasons to try and make a awesome playoff run.
I agree with you. It's time. This is the Rangers' time.
Exactly. That's why I feel that Martin St. Louis for Ryan Callahan, even though how much it might hurt the locker room, it might be the reason why they pulled the trigger on that.
Still don't agree with you, but
I don't want to see him traded. But if it's going to be for someone, I would want it to be someone caliber with St. Louis, and we know he has chemistry with a bunch of players on the team, so it could work out if they do make that trade.
The only reason why St. Louis wants to be traded is because he wants to win one more.
Oh yeah, obviously.
The scary part is if he does come to Rangers and he screws up that chemistry, what if they may not win?
Yeah. That's what's weird about this whole. You don't really see a team trade their captain, and knowing how much this captain means to a specific.
Well, it would
team.
be a captain for captain trade.
Well, essentially yes, but you rarely don't see this situation a lot, and it's one of those. It's just an awkward situation right now, and you got to see. He's going to be a professional about it, and he's going to play out his strength with the Rangers regardless, but. It's really going to be interesting, and it's going to be showing how much of a pro he is until he gets the notification of him getting traded.
Agreed. But right now, we are going to go play a little more Division 1.1, and we'll be right back.
SND Podcast is no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Hockey League or any of its affiliates.
On the ice or in the stands, rep your team with the new Sons of Hockey apparel, a brand new design by a longtime player, coach, and diehard hockey fan. Check out their 2014 lineup, available in men's and women's for all you hockey supporters. Follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Sons of Hockey, or look for Sons of Hockey Clothing on Facebook. Come join the Sons of Hockey family and show the world why hockey is the best sport on the planet. Welcome back to episode 66 of the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Dan, I have a question for you.
Shoot.
You know who the highest selling NBA jersey is in the past week?
I'm guessing Jason Collins.
It is.
Well, congratulations to Jason Collins. Granted, it's a 10-day contract for being the first openly gay player to play in a professional sport in the U.S. of A. So congratulations to him. He actually played key moments in Sunday night's win against the Lakers. And you know he's going to be sticking with the team for the rest of the season. It's just a good place for him to come. He knows Jason Kidd. He's played with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. And he played with someone else on that team. I'm just drawing a blank with. But he's been on...
Well, he was playing with Jason Terry for a little bit, but
yeah.
Terry got moved.
Yeah, well, Terry was already traded by the time he signed. It just shows how valuable he is. Granted, he's not one of the key focal points of the team. He's there to give the Nets some defense in moments when Kevin Garnett and the other big mans can't play. So it's just good for him to get re-signed by a team, first of all. And it just shows that no one cares anymore, and well, at least in the NBA. And it was cool seeing all the articles on the back pages of the Post and the Daily News Monday after that game. So it was great to see that. The overall reaction was pretty positive. So congrats to Jason Collins for that. So you got to be happy for him. be doing something he's able to enjoy and love, and he's able to change the nut. He had a different number Monday night, but tonight he's gonna have his customary 98 jersey, which had some tribute to something in the gay community, which a lot of people didn't really realize last season. So that's cool to see. So congrats to him on that. With that being said, the Nets are playing as good as they've been the last couple of weeks. They're just steadily coming along, and they're just keep on playing really well right now. They're on their West Coast trip. Wednesday night, when after you listen to it, they did play the Trailblazers. They are playing. The Trailblazers are playing pretty decent basketball so far this season, but they're out without their all-star Marcus Aldridge. Might be for the fifth game this year, fifth game in a row. So the Nets might have a shot to steal a game against the Portland Trailblazers. The Nets are still under 500, but they are still playing relatively well, and they're just having to fight their way back to get to 500. That's what happens with such a bad start to the season. They're actually only 2 games under 500. So by the end of when all things are said and done, by the time of that is over, the Nets are going to be in first place before we even know it. And with their talent and their skill and heart they've been playing with the last couple of weeks, it's just unsurmountable on how they're going to be able to win the division. And it's been very impressive, and considering on how poor this Eastern Conference has been this year, it just goes to show you how them not giving up, they were able to win the division. What do you think about the Nets, Steve?
Nets are playing well. I think that they're going to keep this up. Of course, they're on, like you mentioned, they're on their West Coast trip. So, of course, that's going to be difficult because, well, West Coast is 100 times better than the East Coast teams. Yeah. Except for Miami and Indy.
Yeah. They're going to be tested on Wednesday night. Granted, the Lakers are not as your typical Lakers teams, but it just shows Nets were able to hold on to a very close game throughout. And you know LA is a tough place to play, especially for a team like Brooklyn, who hasn't been the best team so far this season. So the Nets need to pick it up, and they're going to be playing. They got to be playing solid fundamental basketball, which they're going to be finishing up the West Coast trip. And then they got the Nuggets. They have a back-to-back. Well, I failed to mention they have the Trailblazers on Wednesday night, and then they have the Nuggets on the 27th. So it's going to be a tough 2 days for the Nets. And knowing how old the Brooklyn Nets are, it's going to be interesting to see how Jason Kidd uses his bench and prolongs and keeps them healthy. And then they finish up the trip at the Bucks. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how Jason Kidd is able to mix and match the units, because you're going to see a lot of different combinations, especially with the back-to-back and the age of this team, Brooklyn Nets team. So it's going to be the bench that's going to carry the Nets the next 2 games, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can get above 500 road trip, which any team will take, especially in the NBA, and especially being in the West Coast trip. We all know how tough it is for East Coast teams to play up to West Coast caliber of teams right now, especially against the Nuggets and the Trailblazers, who are theoretically better than the Brooklyn Nets on paper right now. So that's going to be interesting. On the unfortunate and disaster topic, the New York Knicks. You said you wanted to rant a little bit about the Knicks. I'll let you spew some venom.
It's not even just the Knicks. It's the NBA in general. I mean, Aaron Felton, in case you haven't heard and been living under a rock, or just who knows what you're doing, was arrested the other day. Apparently pulled out his gun and has unregistered guns by his wife.
Yeah, and he apparently threatened his wife. He I don't know what he was thinking. His estranged wife, they apparently went through a brutal divorce. They're going through a brutal divorce right now. Apparently, the particular gun, the unregistered gun that she reported that he had threatened her with, is a weapon that only military and cops should have. Kind of weapon. It had armor-piercing bullets.
Anyhow, here's my issue. I understand the whole let the legal system take its part first.
Yes.
But this guy should be disciplined in somehow.
Yeah, he if this was the NFL,
No, even the NFL does let the legal system play its course first.
Let me finish.
But teams don't.
Teams don't. But for most part, I know I was just shocked to hear that he was practicing Wednesday for the Knicks and he's going to be in the starting lineup Thursday. You never see that. I think it was one of those. I'm shocked. I know you got to let this legal system play, but more times than not, they're gonna suspend the player or tell him not to show up for the next couple of days before they settle it down a little bit and the whole press thing and it's the whole situation like that. I'm kind of actually shocked with that, especially on how serious a topic guns is in the NBA, and we've seen it. We've seen it in all sports that how stupid athletes can be with weapons.
By the way, Parks got one greatest quote about it. Somebody found him for a comment. At least nobody got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all for owning weapons if you're
if you have the license.
If you have the license,
and you know what you're doing, and you're going to be smart about it, sure.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. But to have a weapon that needs armor piercing bullets, that shouldn't even be on the market. Anyway, that I don't know how a non-personnel in the military or police should have that weapon.
For a week after the trading deadline in the NBA, basically players get bought out and dropped and cut.
I'm shocked you didn't get.
Why are the Knicks not doing it? I understand they don't have a point guard.
Yeah.
Besides Prigioni, who I think is hurt, probably because he always seems to be hurt this year. But why is he still on this team?
It's just because of.
I understand. He's making
desperation.
I mean, he's making $3.6 million this year. Basically been nothing this year.
Yeah, he's been a bust. He's been one of the busts this year that played so well last year. Him and the J.R. Smiths, those type of players, they played so well last year that no one expected him to play this crappy this year. And he's obviously not going to be back next year.
He has next year on his deal and then a player option for the following year.
Oh, he is on the team next year. I misread that.
3.7 next year.
I thought it was this year, and then they had the choice to pick him up next
15,
year.
16.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. I misread that.
First thing I did today was think about this summer with the possible free agent list.
Okay.
Unrestricted. I'm not going restricted. Unrestricted free agents. And two names jumped out on me on this list.
Okay.
The first one was Eric Bledsoe from Phoenix.
Okay.
Who's 24.
Oh.
May look for a decent contract. Played for the Clippers for a couple years. Was the chip in the Chris Paul trade.
Yes.
Okay. Now the other name that also hit me was Isaiah Thomas from Sacramento.
Okay.
25 years old. Those two guys alone.
Are you trying to say the Knicks should get younger since they're not going to be able to?
You're not going to be able to draft, so why not get younger?
I absolutely agree with you on that.
If they're not going to look for... These are two guys who will look for money, but probably won't look for max contracts.
Exactly. And with the way the Knicks have been so tight with contracts and everything like that, it might be the nice, good route to go. But the most important player for the Knicks and most talked about free agent in the whole entire league, unless LeBron does something crazy and stupid, is Carmelo Anthony.
LeBron can't opt out after this year. This is the first year he can opt out. He has an option for this year and next year.
He has the choice.
My question to you for Melo.
Do you re-sign with the Knicks?
Not only do you re-sign, but do you play it out like what Darren Williams did 2 summers ago with the Nets, where basically you become the free agent, but really you're not listening to teams. You're just going out recruiting players. You know, like Williams... Yes, Williams spoke to Dallas, I think it was. That was because that was his hometown.
Yeah.
That's where he's from. So it made sense for that. But he basically scouted Joe Johnson to come.
Yeah.
He went and promoted the Nets and said, hey, come to the Nets. Absolutely. We'll sign. Let's make this happen, which is what happened. So if you're Melo, is that what you're doing? If you're so intrigued to come back? Because just look at his last couple of games. It's not his fault they're losing.
No, absolutely not his fault. And I can't stand the people saying, oh, if he's able to dish out 20 more times a game instead of scoring the 40 points. Know how much worse the Knicks would be if he didn't score those 40 points? And I know it's just how the Knicks have been playing this last week. If they able to have him and Tim Hardaway Jr., those are the only two guys you can not yell at. You can yell at Melo a little bit for not putting up his hand on the Dirk Nowitzki game-winning shot the other night.
He did everything he could.
He did everything he could, but he had to put his hand up.
And also lucky bounce.
Lucky bounce as well. But you're going to get that when you're Dirk Nowitzki, and he knows he's just a pure shooter, and that happens. Players like that. It's just $1 million question. What does Melo want to do? It's his choice. He part of him wants to live the legacy. He knows that if he wins in New York, he'll forever be great. And he's already a good player. Might probably be an Hall of Famer and everything like that. He's won a college NBA. He's won a college title. He's won a bunch of gold medals for Team USA.
Scoring title.
He's done everything except for winning an NBA title. So a part of him, if he's not stupid, and he knows he has the Dolans in his back pocket if he wants to stay in New York. That's the only way he's staying in New York. He wants to win a title in New York.
I'm going to say it turns out being Melo becomes the free agent. He's going to opt out because we all know he's opting out.
Oh, no, he already says he's opting out, and it's not a secret because why would you not want the max money, and especially on how great he's played this year on a solo individual standpoint.
If I'm the Dolans, I'm saying, here's your max contract, but before you sign it, go get yourself a coach that you want. Go get yourself one of those point guards, even the Isaiah Thomas or one of the other couple guys on that list. There's a bunch of guys in the mid to young 20s that he may want, up and coming guys. But guys who understand that at the end of the game, with 4 or 5 minutes left, if they're losing, the ball's going straight to Melo.
But here's the problem with your whole. It's Melo's team. It's already Melo's team, and look how great that's worked out so far. It's
There was one segment in the Mavs game that defined the season for the Knicks. Melo drove to the hoop, missed a shot, got the rebound, missed a shot, it went to the corner, threw it out to Felton, who threw it to Tim Hardaway Jr. Shoots the three, misses. Melo gets the rebound, shoots it out to Shumpert. J.R. Smith shoots it, misses. Melo gets the rebound. Melo then ends up on the 3-point line. Gets a pass, pump fake, and makes the bucket.
Yeah, that's
everybody misses until Melo makes it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, and they're right now in a wrong month. They're in a 3-game losing streak, and it might be 6 by the time we talk to you next week.
What do we got?
At Miami.
Loss.
No doubt about it.
Unless it's one of those Miami just doesn't care games. It's a regular season,
Then home against the Warriors Friday night. Another loss.
I'm going to say 60 out of Steph Curry. What did he have last year? 50?
Yeah, he had a ridiculous game. And then, And then March 2nd and March 3rd, they're on their little Midwest trip. They're going to be at the Bulls on Sunday. Loss. Then they could beat the Pistons and Timberwolves. But that is a 6-game losing streak.
I'm going to call it right now. 30-20 for Kevin Love in a win.
That could happen.
Minnesota.
That could easily happen.
I'm sorry to tell you, but Kevin Love is my favorite big man in this league because there is zero that guy can't do. He plays. He is the Ryan Callahan of the Timberwolves. He does everything in his power to try and win those games. His heart is on the court. 48 minutes a night. The Knicks buy out Chandler, who's only got a year left. Yeah, isn't Love a free agent?
Love is a free agent, but I think he's going to L.A. He is going to L.A. one way or the other, and I think how the Lakers are with the whole you're coming with the whole every single rumor. Other than Chris Paul, 9 out of 10 times they've gone to the Lakers, and the way the Lakers have been playing, they're definitely gonna woo him.
Can you see the Lakers? I can see the Lakers offering Powell for Love. I could see it, but I can also see if the Clippers don't win this year, them offering DeAndre Jordan and somebody else off that team
for Kevin Love.
Hey,
you never know.
But you know what? Griffin, Kevin Love, and Chris Paul.
That's some unit right there. I thank God Kevin Love, even though he's a big man, he's able to shoot the ball. So that would help. That would have him. They would be able to. That would have know what that was what Melo and Stoudemire were supposed to be, essentially.
And also what the Timberwolves wanted Ricky Rubio and Kevin Love to be.
Yes.
Which, honestly, if they could end up re-signing Kevin Love, who claims he loves Minnesota, I think that they can end up being a good tandem if they can build around them.
Neither of them can stay healthy. And that's what's the annoying thing for Timberwolves fans, is they got a good team, a good nucleus of teams. They just can't stay healthy, or they don't have enough players around them to be that good caliber team just to make the playoffs. They have the chance to. They have the chances to be good with the young nucleus they have, but when it's all said and done, they're not. They don't have the Laker money or one of those big powerhouse money. So I could see Kevin Love going to somewhere big.
Okay, it's been what, 4 years, 5 years since the big summer, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Stoudemire's got 1 year, 2 years maybe, and Chandler's got got 1 more year after this. You possibly calling Golden State to try and bring David Lee back? His contracts should almost be up also. If they're willing to move him.
In the offseason.
In the offseason, and it doesn't include draft picks. Let's say they're a one-and-done team, Golden State, which I don't see. I could see them moving past first round. But let's say they end up being a one-and-done, and they say, okay, we need to start making changes, at least up front, because behind the free throw line, they're Thompson and Curry, you're golden for years.
Yeah, exactly. It all depends on the nucleus, so what other teams are going to offer him. I think they want it. The Golden State Warriors are going to find every way to keep the team they have intact right now, unless they improve it with somebody that is just so over the top that bringing those couple of guys with the players that we mentioned before with the Warriors, with all of that, it's winter. They have a couple years to build onto that championship level. So it really depends on what they can get for certain pieces.
But can the team that they have beat a team like OKC with a healthy Westbrook in a 7-game series? Being the lower seed, because they probably can't get above them.
No.
Eventually, the Spurs are going to stop winning. Popovich is going to retire, and the Spurs are going to stop winning, and we're going to stop not talking about them every year, and we're going to talk about how bad they are. Eventually, that's got to happen. Mm-hmm. So you're basically going to move the Spurs down.
Yes.
OKC will always be there on top.
Yeah.
As long as Durant and Westbrook are healthy.
As long as they're together and healthy, they'll always be on top. They need to find that try to get other piece for them.
They need to replace James Harden.
That's the problem. Yeah. And that's the problem with the NBA. You need 3 quote unquote superstars to get a title unless you're the Spurs. And it's really, that's looking back on it, they knew they weren't going to be able to sign Harden. But they should have found a way to keep all 3 players. Imagine how awesome they would have been.
Does everybody get 2 max contracts?
2 or 3. It's all about math.
It's got to be 3.
Yeah,
if the Heat gave 3,
it's 3. It's around 3, and it has to be all in the right price range for all of them. So they've really got to. The teams that really want to win a championship, they need to find mathematically good ways to spend their money and not do it stupidly like the Knicks and just be in cap hell forever in a day and trade away a lot of their prospects. Granted, they might have not been great prospects, but they were something.
Well, that's the difference between a team like the Knicks and OKC.
Yes.
They're in a small market.
Exactly.
That luxury tax,
it's huge for them.
If they hit it, it hurts.
Oh, it definitely hurts.
If the owner of Cablevision hits the luxury tax, whatever,
yep.
I'll just raise the cable bill. Make a couple extra bucks. Be able to pay it. Who cares? Nobody's dropping Cablevision. I mean, there are people who switch to Verizon, whatever, different companies, but people need cable.
Exactly. People need cable, and it's all about winning in New York. And with OKC, obviously it's winning now. Just how good their team is, but they don't have the big league spending money.
You mentioned winning now. I feel like in OKC, what they do every year is acceptable.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't know, of course, because we're from the New York market.
Yeah.
But I think that a market like that could be acceptable. Now, I want to run back to Golden State for a minute. Kevin Love in Golden State.
Go ahead.
Yay or nay?
Kevin Love to Golden State.
Imagine the 3-point team they already have, and then you're adding a big guy who can shoot threes. Then you're adding a down low guy who can just back out and.
That'd be, of course, if I was Golden State, I would do that trade. But it's really up to the Timberwolves on what they want to do. It's the Timberwolves court.
They go back to that OKC, that small market thing.
Yeah,
Minnesota doesn't have. It probably has a bigger market than OKC.
probably.
Spending money wise, because it is a little bigger of a city, and it's like teams like OKC. I mean, Toronto probably doesn't have much of a market. Teams like that. It's definitely like Knicks, Lakers, Knicks, LA,
Boston,
Nets,
Chicago, Heat now.
And even part of Texas, even Dallas. Dallas has got a big market. And then there's teams like the Spurs, mid-level. The Wolves are in that level, I feel.
No, they're definitely in that mid-range level of middle America market. That's not the biggest, but they could hold their own. It's other middle markets. So they just haven't had that playoff team since KG has been on the team, unfortunately.
Well, they made the playoffs every year. They just never won with him. And then they finally traded him, which was smart. They wanted to rebuild.
Yep. And
you know what they did? They wanted KG to win a championship.
Yeah.
And they knew him being there, they couldn't put the championship around him.
Exactly.
Which is respectable in that view. But just a heads up, there's another guy who supposedly might be a free agent this year, who's a big guy. Who I wish the Knicks had money for was Kenneth Reed. But I see him staying in Denver.
He's been rumored all season long to go to the Knicks and everything like that. And with him, I think the Nuggets have liked him so much, that's why they haven't pulled the trigger on him.
Can't, because what else do they have?
Nothing.
Besides Nate Lawson, who else is on that team?
No one of substantial, like...
Gallinari,
but he's
out.
Always hurt. He's
out.
hurt.
He's got his ACL injury.
Yeah.
And Nate just got an ACL injury also.
Yeah, all the ex-Knicks. It's the Denver Knicks.
Wilson Chandler.
He's another one. And I'm sure Mozgov's still on the team, too.
Timothy Mozgov.
Yeah, at Knicks.
I think we should end this segment on a Timothy Mozgov reference.
Yes, we do. Timmy Scott Mozgov, thank you.
Thank you for ending our basketball segment this week. We're going to go play a little more Division 1.1, and we'll be right back.
S&D Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Basketball Association or any of its affiliates.
And welcome back to the S&D Podcast show on the Schmuck Sports Network, episode 66. As you guys have been hearing, we've been playing a little advertising. Good friends over at Sons of Hockey. You like Sons of Anarchy, you like hockey. They got some sick shirts. Check out, he's got one right now, teespring.com/SOHNYIV2. Sick Islander shirt. They have it hoodies, t-shirts, $20 for the shirts, $30 for the hoodies, I believe it was. They also have some women's ones, V-necks for the women as well. The idea on Teespring is you got to sell a certain amount, and then they print them for the guy.
That's pretty cool.
He needs 30. He needs them, I believe, by next Wednesday, I think it is.
Okay.
So
if you're interested and you're an Isle fan, go check it out, that website.
Yes,
and get
we've posted the link. It's all over our pages. It's all over Sons of Hockey. You heard it on their thing. Sons of Hockey Clothing on Facebook and at Sons of Hockey Instagram and Twitter. So check them out. Even if you're just an NHL fan in general, they have some sick shirts. I know he's in works with a lot of them. So get your shirts while they're out there.
Absolutely, especially if you're a fan of Sons of Anarchy and just like riding motorcycles. So I know there's a lot of people who ride bikes and everything like that, so that'd be cool.
I mean, the shirts are, even if you're not, I know people who aren't Sons of Anarchy fans who think the shirts are awesome.
Yeah.
So check them out.
Absolutely.
And make sure you get yours today. Vision 1.1, check them out on Facebook.
As always, thanks to them for letting us play their music. Hopefully they get new music soon, which they've been recording, right?
Yes, they've been working. I don't have an official word yet, but I know they've been busy.
Yeah.
I haven't really spoken to Brian because he's been so busy.
Yeah.
So check them out. Best of luck to the Islanders and Rangers.
Yep.
Best of luck to Jason Collins.
Yep, and the Knicks and Nets.
By the way,
baseball's right around the corner. What were you going to mention?
NFL Combine happened.
Yes.
Clowney or Manziel?
Manziel. got to go with Manziel. I know I am the minority on this right now, but their main issue last year was quarterback, and I just don't like how the perception of Giovanni Clowney has been on how he's taked off plays and everything like that. I just don't like his demeanor.
Okay, which will happen, which will stink because he'll probably end up being a Jaguar then if Manziel goes 1, and when they're 1-6, he'll give up.
Yeah, and honestly, with Johnny Manziel, he's the hometown kid, and you know he's a proven winner. I know Clowney's an absolute freak, but him doing all the things at the combine proves nothing to you. Everybody, if you did your homework and you watched him play, you knew what he's a freak. It's just a lot of
just the numbers that made it.
Yeah, and honestly, the stats don't lie and the game tapes don't lie. As much as him quote unquote taking a rest, the players have to find a way to show up, even when you get double and triple teamed. A lot of people that do scouting reports for the combines and everything like that, they're really alarmed. They know he's a freak athlete. He could be a great all-time great, but a lot of game tapes, he only got 3 sacks this year, and he didn't try. You can tell he didn't try. Some games tapes, the people said that it was so noticeable that he wasn't even on the field. That where's Giovanni Clowney? Oh, there he is. He's getting pancaked or something like that. And that's scared. And you don't see football players. Football players is such a sport of attitude and never quitting and just the whole attitude and of that kind of attitude and giving everything you got for 60 minutes for your teammates. And he just seems like a selfish person. And he was just clearly looking to... I know he was protecting his assets with money, but honestly, it doesn't help. I'm sure if he is an incredible athlete, but just the things he's done makes you want to scratch your head. And you can't play scared and tentative and be, if I don't play hard, I might get hurt. If I play hard, I might get hurt kind of thing. It's just one of those ridiculous things, and I completely disagree with him. But if he's an all-star caliber player, he's going to be an all-star caliber player. But him with J.J. Watt on the opposite side, that's a scary thing to think about. But I would go with Johnny Manziel. They would have the running. They'll have a steady offense, and just the Texas boy playing in Texas is another thing.
See, that's my thing. The thought of Clowney and J.J. Watt. The thing with the Texans is, you're right. One thing they're missing is a quarterback. But that doesn't mean they have to get one this year. They have Schaub on the contract. Granted, he's not going to win a championship. I was talking to my manager the other day, Ian. We've had on the show before. Mm-hmm. Schaub's the guy who will get you there, but won't get you past there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the type of player Schaub is. But I still don't think that they need to go after quarterback this year. If he could have Clowney and Watt on both sides and have a decent season,
it's scary.
And have just a good enough year, there's going to be quarterback free agents next year. Even if you bring a guy like Michael Vick in to fight Schaub for the spot this year, or bring a veteran guy in, look at the Tennessee. They have 2 quarterbacks. They have Locker and Fitzpatrick. Trade for one.
I'd rather have Johnny Manziel. I think it's just one of those you can't miss. And I know he's a very brash player with him saying, if you draft me, it's going to be the worst decision you'll ever make. I think he's that kind of player, and he could find a way to become a great player. You've seen it in college. I know sometimes that doesn't translate, but he just has all the right tools to become a caliber player that you want on your team. I know he lived it up with his 21 year, his last year of him winning the Heisman as a redshirt freshman, of course. But I think a lot of people were impressed at how he responded and acted at the combine and everything like that. So I think Johnny Manziel he's gonna be a top 5 pick. It's just gonna be interesting the next 2 months on everybody's pro days and personal preference on what the Texans and all the other teams want to do.
Do you think the combine's kind of useless at this point?
It's not useless. It's there for the right reasons. It's just the media barking it out of proportion on certain things.
Because Because when you really look at it recently, the past couple of years, guys you want to see, skip the on-field stuff.
It's not for those players. It's honestly, if you really look at it, it's really for the mid-round guys and the guys in the later rounds and those guys from small colleges that you may not know of. You maybe watched a couple games, but you want to see what the person's official size is and their weight and how fast. And it's more of getting to know the player kind of thing.
Yeah, but you could do that at the pro day also.
But you're really talking about the real, that's for the real nitty gritty big time colleges. Let's think about it. Of all the players in the country, I know that's probably the 20% of all the people that's getting drafted. You can't go to 150 pro days, That's what I'm trying to say. That's why they make it that one big thing, and the big school, only really the big schools have those big pro days.
One advantage of it also is...
And you get to meet the players. It's pretty much an interview process. The beginning is of the interview process.
Basically...
And they're out of their element, and you want to see how they can react to that kind of thing.
Basically, also... Then the bigger players look at Manti Te'o from last year. Had a horrible combine.
Exactly.
Came back in his pro day, felt more comfortable. Went from probably a third or fourth rounder, like he was at the combine, to that, what was it, top 3 pick in the second round? Something like that with the Chargers?
Yep.
Top 5 pick?
With Manti Te'o?
Yeah.
He wasn't a top 5 pick.
In the second round.
Oh, in the second round, yeah.
He was one of the first guys picked in the second round.
Exactly.
And I think the same goes. I think it was Polian who said it. It's going to be the same way probably with Michael Sam.
Yeah,
had a tough time this weekend.
Yeah, he really didn't. He didn't. But for the job you want him to do is for pass rush. But he is where everybody expected him to be before him coming out of the closet. So no one could give anybody the slack of what to say. When in fact, if you look at the papers. Right before he came out of the closet, he was going to be projected midday. And the whole, like we mentioned, the whole position change is really going to affect him.
I also agree with Clowney not doing it, because what he basically did was let me focus on the main things, the vertical jump, broad jump, and the 40. At the combine. And I'm going to do all the on-field stuff where I'm comfortable.
I actually disagree with you. After hearing from all the podcasts that I've listened to the last couple of days, honestly, he's not a quarterback. But his particular
Clowney,
listen, his particular drill, he should be awesome at it regardless. It shouldn't have hurt anything that him for not doing it. And a lot of people were upset at him for not doing it. Opposed to if it's one thing to be a quarterback and you want to screw up the rhythm, you want to throw it to guys you already know, that's one thing. But put your hand in the dirt and do things that you do every day in practice, and he doesn't have to rely on anybody but himself. It's really disappointing that he didn't do it, and I don't get why he didn't do it.
I still say Clowney goes 1.
I wouldn't be shocked, but if for the nostalgic reasons, I would go Manziel.
But that's the advantage that we have. We have about a month to figure that out, because in about a month, make sure to look out for our NFL draft preview show. Less than a month, we're in works on our Major League Baseball preview show, so look out for those coming up. Other than that, we'll see you next week for episode 67.
Absolutely. See you next week, guys. Enjoy your sports.